One day, as I went outside to hang the laundry, I noticed the shortening of daylight, signaling that fall was in full swing. I thought to myself, it's gonna be a hot one today, and my gaze drifted to the guest house nearby. Within the same property as my home, there's a guest house where my son Kevin, his wife Sarah, and their son Ethan, a family of 3, reside. Every time Sarah comes to the main house, she seems to take everyday items like toilet paper, detergent, shampoo, and so on, and even secretly takes money out of my purse. But I've never actually caught her in the act, and without evidence, I couldn't confront her. With my expenses increasing, I decided to take up a part-time job. Of course, I tried talking to Kevin about Sarah's actions, but he didn't take me seriously. So, when my husband, Robert, who's currently on a work assignment away from home, came back for his monthly visit, Robert and I, along with Kevin and Ethan, decided to have a talk. Sarah was apparently coming later. I did mention money disappearing from my purse, and that too. Do you really think Sarah did it? Don't joke around. Then, Robert calmly placed his smartphone on the table, displaying a video feed. It was from a security camera installed in our house. On the screen, in a brightly lit living room corner, Sarah was seen taking out my wallet, pulling out a few bills, and then only returning the wallet to my purse. Kevin was in complete shock. I've been giving her enough for living expenses. Why? Don't you get it, even now? Startled by my words, Kevin stormed out of the house in a rage, rushed to the guest house, and dragged Sarah back. When shown the video, Sarah's face turned ashen. My name is Rachel Smith, a 60-year-old housewife. My husband, Robert, is away on a work assignment and only comes home about once a month. We're both past the prime of our lives and would like to settle down peacefully, but it seems life has other plans. When Robert learned that he was going to be working away from home, he hesitated for a moment and then confided in me, saying, "Rachel, I'm gonna be living on my own from next month. They're setting up a new sales office and want me to oversee the younger staff there." Robert has always been regarded as a dependable elder brother figure at the company. In fact, he's great at taking care of others, not just at work but at home too. When our son, Kevin, was just born, Robert would often take the initiative in feeding him and changing his diapers. Even if he couldn't take paternal leave, on weekends and during summer vacations, he'd nap with Kevin, take him to parks, or tutor him as he grew older. Seeing such a reliable figure as Robert downcast was rare. Don't be so down. You'll be coming home often, right? I assumed he'd be home within 2 or 3 months. That's the thing, I don't really know. Since I'll be crossing states, I might not see you as often. Maybe just once a month. I'm worried about you, Rachel. Why was he worried about me? I pondered for a moment and then it hit me. I have a chronic illness and had recently undergone surgery. He must be concerned about possible complications. Don't worry. Kevin and his family are in the guest house. I'll let you know if something comes up. Within the same property as my home, there's a guest house where my son Kevin, his wife Sarah, and their son Ethan, a family of 3, reside. Kevin got married 6 years ago. They lived in an apartment for 2 or 3 years, but due to some issues with the landlord, they had to move. They checked out other places, but Sarah didn't like any of them. Eventually, they asked if they could move into the guest house. Robert wasn't thrilled with the idea at first and even declined. "Kevin, you know about your mother's illness. I don't want to burden her any more than necessary. I'm against it." Even after this initial refusal, a desperate Kevin came back a month later, saying, "Dad, please. We promise not to be a nuisance. Can we just stay in the guest house?" By the time this story came around, Robert had changed his mind, and he agreed to let Kevin's family live in the guest house. When I later asked Robert the reason, he said he felt more at ease than leaving me alone. It's been about 3 years since then, and they've shown no signs of moving out. Wanting to ease Robert's concerns, I reassured him. I'm okay. My post-op recovery is on track and I'm taking my meds regularly. We should install a surveillance camera. The latest ones are advanced. They come with temperature sensors and can even detect heat strokes. You're worrying too much. Chuckling, we continued talking, and before we knew it, it was late into the night. A few days later, Robert actually installed a surveillance camera and linked it to his smartphone app. I was surprised at first, but since it was positioned discreetly, I got used to it by the next day. So, a week later, Robert reluctantly left the house, and now, I live alone in a house that's almost too big. By the way, I didn't mention this to Robert, but something was bothering me. It was about Sarah, Kevin's wife. Even though she's supposed to be a stay-at-home mom, she often left Ethan at home and went out. I could understand if she occasionally went out to lunch with her friends, but was she really going out that frequently? Also, every now and then when she came into my house with Ethan, she'd always take something. "Hey, Rachel, can I take some toilet paper?" At first, it was just little things like that, so I didn't think much of it. But gradually, she began to escalate, trying to take household items like detergent, shampoo, and body wash. There was even a time she tried to take a plate. She did give back the plate, but still, it was odd. "Sarah, are you struggling financially?" "Huh? No." "Then why are you always trying to take stuff from my house?" "It's to save money. With Ethan around, I have to think about the future expenses, so I'm trying to save up now. Please understand, Rachel." With that, she nonchalantly left the house, waving her hand. She always dressed up and mentioned she went to the spa, even got her nails done. Was she really saving up? Kevin worked long hours, from early morning till late at night, and I never heard about them having financial problems. I wanted to confront her about this, but I didn't want to be the meddling mother-in-law, so I kept silent. Then one day, I noticed that money was steadily disappearing from my wallet. I suspected Sarah, but I had no proof. Days went by without being able to catch her in the act. One day, as I went outside to hang the laundry, I noticed the shortening of daylight, signaling that fall was in full swing. I thought to myself, it's gonna be a hot one today, and my gaze drifted to the guest house nearby. Since then, I haven't once seen Sarah acting suspicious about the money. I also think that maybe it's not her after all, but I've started to hear rumors about her from various neighbors. That she was seen walking around town dressed as if she was going to a nightclub or seen walking closely with a young man. I was skeptical. Sure, she dressed fashionably, but nothing out of the ordinary. And she didn't strike me as the type to cheat. I've even seen her in her pajamas when she's in the guest house. I just couldn't imagine Sarah going out and about like the rumors suggested. But if people actually saw her, then maybe there's a side to Sarah I didn't know. While I kept an eye on the situation, money kept disappearing from my wallet. I was starting to struggle to cover living expenses, so I decided to take a part-time job until I could find some evidence. I told Robert it was just for a change of pace, but he was so worried about me that he agreed, on the condition that I don't push myself too hard. Luckily, I noticed a nearby supermarket was hiring cashiers part-time, so I contacted them and went for an interview. I had consulted with Kevin just in case, but one day, as my first shift approached, I told him, "Kevin, I'm gonna start working part-time from next week." "Why?" "You just got out of the hospital, and your body must still be tired, right? It's just 3 days a week. I'll be fine." But more importantly, about Sarah. I decided to boldly discuss Sarah's behavior with Kevin. I thought he might have something to say that would lead to a solution. Did Sarah do something? Actually, recently, she's been taking household items like toilet paper and shampoo. Are you having financial difficulties? But Kevin was indignant. No way. I make sure to give her money every month. Sarah handles the finances. She used to work in accounting, so she knows how to manage money. Really? But she's genuinely taking things. And also, money.
Money? You're saying Sarah's taking that too?
Kevin looked incredulous. Yes. Little by little, money's being taken from my purse. She probably thinks I haven't noticed, but if this continues, I'll be in trouble. Can you subtly talk to her about it?
Mom, are you losing your mind? No way that's happening.
Kevin sighed heavily, seemingly not believing me. After that, he ignored everything I said. The next day, I told Sarah that I was gonna work part-time, and it would be difficult for me to look after Ethan anymore. It just so happened that she came over to drop Ethan off. Sarah looked annoyed and complained. So, who's gonna watch Ethan? Sarah, I have to be clear with you. You need to take care of your own child. Why do you always leave Ethan with me? Where are you going? When I stood my ground, Sarah clicked her tongue in annoyance. Fine, I get it. I won't ask you anymore. She didn't answer my question and just took Ethan's hand, heading back into her house. I felt nervous and was sweating, but from that day on, only Ethan would come running to me.
Grandma, play with me.
I thought, Sarah must be out again. And with a sigh, I invited Ethan in and took care of him. I hoped that if I started working, she might come to her senses. With that faint hope, I spent the week. And so, my first day at the new job began, starting at 10 in the morning and ending at 3 in the afternoon with a short shift. Having been a full-time homemaker for a long time, going back to work made me nervous. Even though it's just called a cashier, there's a lot to do and a lot to remember. I held my notepad and pen tight, getting lessons from a young woman at the cash register. She was a young woman in her 20s, way more confident than me. She swiftly explained things like loyalty cards and the self-checkout process, but it made my head spin. Shining on her chest, alongside her name tag, was a golden badge that read Customer Service Master, and her example of how to use the register was impressive. I gotta remember this. I kept reminding myself as I headed home, reaching my front gate. As I rummaged through my purse looking for my house keys, I noticed Ethan standing in front of the house. Wondering what he was doing there, I quietly approached him. Before I realized it, all my earlier thoughts were forgotten and I called out. Ethan? What are you doing here? Upon hearing his name, Ethan looked up. Tears filled his eyes, and he was sobbing, his nose running. Surprised, I quickly pulled out some tissues from my purse and wiped away Ethan's tears and runny nose.
What happened? Did something sad happen?
Listening to him, it seemed Ethan had been waiting for me to come out of the house all day. But when I didn't, he had asked his mom, Sarah, who told him that Grandma went to work and wasn't home, leaving him deeply upset. Why did Grandma leave? Is it because of my job that I can't play with Grandma anymore? Sniffling, Ethan struggled to say this. Job? What job do you have, Ethan? When I asked, Ethan replied this, handing me a piece of paper. As I unfolded the small, quadruple-folded note, it read in Sarah's handwriting, Ethan's job, transfer money from Grandma's wallet to Mom's wallet once a day. I was taken aback by these instructions.
What?
I looked back and forth between the note and Ethan's face, asking in a shaky voice.
Ethan, did your mom tell you to do this?
Ethan casually replied, yeah. Mom said it's my job. She gave me this note and told me to do it properly. Trying to hide my shock, I quickly invited Ethan inside and gave him some juice. He drank it thirstily, but I was in disbelief. I couldn't believe that Sarah would ask such a young child to take money like that. Can this really be happening? I have no evidence. When on earth did this start? I've been watching Ethan all along, and there aren't many chances for a 5-year-old to look away. Even though we're together from morning to night, how on earth was he taking money out of my purse? Suddenly, a thought struck me. That night, I called Robert and explained the situation. Yeah, I get it. I'm not suspecting Ethan, but I'll go back and check the security camera footage. Robert, without a hint of doubt, listened to my story and said that. 3 days passed, and I got a call from Robert. "Hello, Rachel? I've found something terrible." "What?" My heart raced. It seemed that Ethan was the culprit, but more shocking was seeing Sarah instructing Ethan on how to steal money from the purse. I hadn't told her about the security camera, but still, stealing someone's money in broad daylight is crazy.
I was thinking of coming over this weekend.
This is wrong.
We're gonna talk to Kevin and Sarah.
Yes, we should. I felt heavy-hearted, but now that I knew about this, we had to confront it. The days leading up to the weekend were gloomy, but when I went to my part-time job, I would forget about it by focusing on my tasks. That was a relief. The weekend arrived, and though the weather forecast had predicted a hurricane, it veered off to the west, so our area was sunny. However, despite the clear sky, there was a storm brewing inside the house. Robert took a train 2 hours earlier than usual to discuss the matter and came home. Though he looked a bit tired, I sensed determination in him and had a gut feeling that today would be tumultuous. Upon arriving, Robert headed to the guest house and told Kevin and Sarah to come to the main house immediately. However, only Kevin and Ethan arrived. Across the living room table, Robert and I sat facing Kevin and Ethan. "Kevin, where's Sarah?" "I told her to come too, didn't I?" She said she'll come later." Perhaps because of the tense atmosphere, Kevin's response was hesitant. As if mocking him, the ice in the glass beside him clinked. I wanted to talk to her, actually, especially her. "Well, it's okay. Apparently, Sarah has been taking things from this house quite often." Kevin looked surprised. "Mom mentioned that before. But it wasn't that often or that much, right? And Sarah said she got them from you." "She says she got them, but I didn't just give them to her. She said that she wanted to save money for Ethan's future and she forcefully took them."
Eh? That's impossible.
"And I did mention money disappearing from my purse, and that too."
You can't be serious. Are you telling me Sarah's been acting like a thief? Don't kid around like that.
Then, Robert calmly placed his smartphone on the table, displaying a video feed. "It's no joke. I have evidence here that Sarah instructed Ethan to steal money. And it's all recorded here, how Ethan takes money from your mom's wallet every day." Kevin was in shock watching the footage. On the screen, in a well-lit corner of the living room, Sarah rummaged through a bag, found a wallet, took several bills from it, and then only put the wallet back in the bag. She showed the taken bills to Ethan, who was nearby, and bent down to instruct him on something. Though the conversation was fragmented, the message was clear. "This is what money is, take this much from Grandma's purse." Ethan nodded firmly in understanding and was embraced tightly by his mother. Watching this, Kevin was lost for words, staring intently at Robert's smartphone screen. "This is footage from a monitoring camera I set up because I was worried about your mom's health. I never imagined it would capture something like this." There are also videos of Ethan taking money from the wallet. Robert played another video on his smartphone. I didn't know when Ethan had taken the money, but this video made it clear. When I got up to take my prescription medication, Ethan quickly rifled through my bag and swiftly took money from the wallet. The medication schedule was regular, so even young Ethan could easily get the timing right.
I trusted her. I can't believe this. Using an innocent child for such nefarious deeds is despicable. You should be ashamed.
Robert, who usually doesn't get mad, said this with a voice full of anger. Kevin flinched at the harshness of it, and Ethan was bewildered by the outburst. "But I've been giving enough for living expenses, so why? Why did you do this, Ethan?" Ethan hesitated before answering. "Mom says her job is to give money to some man and that's why she doesn't have enough." "Some man?" "Yeah. Mom always gets dressed up and goes somewhere, but I'm not allowed to come." So, I stay home with Grandma. Kevin looked at Ethan in disbelief. His face seemed to say, I don't understand. Could she be having an affair?
Don't you get it even after all this?
Startled by my words, Kevin stormed out of the house in a fit of rage, and moments later, he dragged Sarah back in.
Hey, that hurts. Let me go.
Sarah shouted, and Ethan, not understanding what was happening, looked on the verge of tears watching Kevin.
Sarah, what the heck is going on? Explain this to me. Why did you steal money from Mom's purse even though I've been providing enough for our living expenses? And you even got Ethan involved?
Sarah, taken aback, looked at Kevin with wide eyes. Her darting eyes practically screamed, How did you find out?
What are you talking about? Do you have any proof that I did something like that?
Sarah spoke as if certain there couldn't be any evidence. However, Kevin showed her the smartphone on the table, which belonged to Robert.
This is the proof. You got Ethan involved, didn't you? Where were you going when you left Ethan behind during the day? Were you having an affair?
Sarah's face turned pale as she looked at the screen. Eventually, she admitted that she had been frequenting a nightclub, not having an affair.
I'm so sorry. I thought I was just having a little fun. I felt trapped staying home with Ethan every day and stressed out knowing your mom lives so close. I just wanted a break, thought I'd go just once.
But that one time turned into once a month, then twice, then thrice, and she got more and more into it. I couldn't help it. I wanted to have fun too. I needed money to spend at the club. Even if I wanted to work, I couldn't with Ethan around, and the allowance you give me is nowhere near enough.
So you think stealing from Mom's purse is all right? That's just like being a thief.
I'm sorry. I won't go there anymore. I promise. I'll return the stolen money. Please forgive me. Sarah begged Kevin tearfully, but he was too furious to listen.
No way. I'm gonna divorce you. No, please.
She pleaded till the very end, but Kevin remained firm and later served her with divorce papers. I had been noting down the amount of money lost, and based on that, I also handed her a bill.
What? This much?
She was shocked, but she must have known deep down. She tried to negotiate a bit, but I refused to budge and insisted on the full amount. Sarah, you should be grateful I haven't reported this to the police. You've committed theft repeatedly. They'd arrest you right away. I stated sharply. With a downcast look, biting her lower lip, she left my place. Also, during the divorce, Kevin demanded alimony from Sarah. One of his co-workers had recently divorced and introduced him to a good lawyer. So, in the end, Sarah had to repay me and also pay alimony to Kevin. Surprisingly, despite all this, she couldn't quit going to the club, and rumors are she's now in debt of tens of thousands of dollars. I can't understand what drives her, but it's only a matter of time before she's completely broke. As for me, I no longer have to work part-time, so I quit the supermarket job and am now enjoying my time at home. No one lives in the adjacent house anymore, but Kevin and Ethan moved to the main house's second floor. Kevin got custody of Ethan and is now taking care of him. While Kevin is at work during the day, my routine of watching over Ethan hasn't changed. However, I no longer have to worry about being charged money. Ethan will be of age to start kindergarten next year. I wonder if Kevin has already done the registration. I'll have to ask to find out. I muttered to myself as I was making pancakes for lunch. Just then, Robert came home. Yes, today marks the end of his long business trip, and he's finally back. I hadn't seen Robert in a few weeks since that day, but he seemed particularly bright and entered the living room with a cheerful look.
I'm home. Oh, welcome back. Lunch is just about ready.
Grandpa, welcome home. From now on, life will begin for the four of us, Robert, Kevin, Ethan, and me. Such a peaceful life truly feels like a blessing. The heat of late summer continues, but the season is shifting towards fall. Robert says, maybe we should go on a picnic during the next long weekend. He's always so eager to play with the kids. I chuckled, thinking he should act his age a bit, as I began to cook some more pancakes for him.